Oh, okay. Hold on. Ever see. So Newegg Now is a live show where we talk about hardware and games that matter to you. And each week, we bring you super limited time deals that you can check out on newegg.com/Newegg Now. These deals go live when the show starts at 10 a.m. Pacific time each week and only last until the end of the day. So let's go ahead, let's put up that page. We can throw to that here on the stream, and we can take a look at some of the ways that we can save you money today. So we've got that pulled up here. We can kick things off as we always do with some of the most exciting deals we have live on that page. First up, for those of you in the market for a cutting edge NVIDIA GPU, we have the Zotac Gaming GeForce RTX 2080 amp for less than $750 right now. It's a 2080 for less than $750. As far as gaming GPUs go, this is pretty close to top of the line, and at that price, they won't last long. So you should definitely check that out. You can pick up yours. Or if you're looking for a fully built system, you'll definitely want to check out the iBuyPower BattleBox Ultimate. This is a great looking powerhouse. It's got a GTX 1080 Ti, a Ryzen Threadripper 1950X CPU, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, and plenty of storage. I'm rebuilding my workstation. I'm calling it Asteria. I'm calling her Asteria. These are pretty similar specs to the system I'm putting together myself, actually. So it's got everything you need to run AAA titles, handle some really hot VR action, get tons of work done at the same time, and you can pick it up right now for $100 off. It's a great holiday gift. That's a pretty killer holiday gift if you're gonna buy something like that and give it away. It's a great holiday gift if you're trying to show someone the beauty of PC power and PC gaming. That's pretty awesome. So maybe you're someone who wants to play games on the go, but you don't want to sacrifice that quality gaming experience. The Asus ROG Zephyrus M is one of the coolest looking gaming laptops out there right now, with an awesome ventilation system that pops open when you use the laptop, keep everything running cool. This version has a GTX 1060, a 144 hertz refresh rate panel with G-Sync, so you'll be getting that silky smooth gameplay experience. And it also comes with a copy of Black Ops 4, so that's pretty rad. And it's discounted for $250 off right now. It doesn't get much better than that. Okay, one last thing before we dive into the show. We don't have a deal on this, but this is crazy. This is remarkable, and it's something you have to see. We have to show it off. I'm going to vamp for just a second while I plug this in. You might be wondering what's in this box that I am currently about to plug in. This box in front of me, what's in the box? Short answer, it's RAM. Long answer, it's RAM. But not just any RAM. This is Trident Z Royal Series RAM from G.Skill. And it's got a very unique look that we can check out when I open this box. I can show off golden plated RGB RAM with a jeweled look in it. You can get gold or silver plating with these RGB lights that look like diamonds. This would be RAM for, Paris Hilton. She was just recently in the news, KTLA, talking about her apparently missing another piece of jewelry. Or Little John, anyone who wants to bling out their build and make it look like a PC built for royalty. I'm really glad that they wrote that into the script. It's pretty over the top, and this is definitely going to be divisive in terms of aesthetic. But it is cool to see companies out there doing something different, this sort of customization with PC parts, because that's what PC building is all about, right? So not everyone is going to want diamond encrusted gold RAM, but for those of you that do, here you go. And you can get it in a few different speeds, configurations. You can pick it up on Newegg right now. We were actually talking about this after the show last week. And it's one of those things where, given the right build conditions, we're seeing a lot of trends in PC design. We're seeing motherboards that have covered panels. If we started to see more components, chromed or gold-plated, you could get some really cool disco ball effects going on the inside of a system. I'm just saying, NZXT has those new covered panels for their motherboards. I think they might be missing out on an opportunity to do something pretty rad with some PC build stuff. So we'll be highlighting more Newegg Now deals later on in today's show. But first, I mentioned that Trisha, my usual co-host, the person usually on this side of the couch, she's not here today. The last time she left me alone in the studio, it was to go to San Diego Comic-Con. This time, she's attending the Qualcomm Tech Summit, which just happens to be in Hawaii. You go someplace fun to talk about some cool tech. I'm not jealous. I'm not. Why would I be jealous? I don't, it's not like I talk about phones all the time and mobile processors and cool things that you can do with mobile gadgets. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I have the Yule PC stream, so I'm cool. I'm good. Los Angeles, it's rad. It's just like Hawaii, but better. So there you go. Anyway, Trisha was kind enough to send over a video documenting what she's seen on her first days at Qualcomm's event. So let's throw to that, because we've got some really exciting things to talk about when it comes to mobility, tech, and what's coming to your phones next year. So let's throw that up right now.
Hi, Juan and Newegg family. I miss you guys. I'm sorry I couldn't be there for the show today, but that's because I am here at Qualcomm Tech Summit. Hey, it's the Snapdragon Tech Summit where so far we have talked all about 5G and 5G actually being here and being real in the early half of 2019. We've seen representatives from AT&T, Verizon showing us some actual 5G networks here in Maui at the convention, which is very cool. We also talked a whole lot about the Snapdragon 855 brand new mobile processor and what that means for phones moving forward, which Juan, you'll be excited because there's a lot about mobile gaming. The Snapdragon Elite Gaming is going to enable more cinematic color in our video games, of course, faster video games, less power consumption. So lots about mobile gaming to get you hyped, as well as a lot of camera features. So the Snapdragon 855 processor, what they've said so far is 45% faster CPU, 20% faster GPU, and that translates to, again, less power consumption, faster phones, faster, of course, over the 5G network, but also faster in the processing and computing itself. So the camera features are what have me the most excited. Mobile camera right now, even with some of the best tech, like I have the Pixel 3 right here. I can use Top Shot, I can use Portrait Mode, I can use Night Sight, and these are all really cool, but I have to choose which mode before I take the photo. Using the Snapdragon 855 processor, you'll be able to take one photo and then choose how you would like to display the photo in post. So as a content creator, this is going to be a huge deal, and I'm really excited about that. They also will now have the capability to do live video bokeh, which translates to live video background alterations, whether it's a blurred background, a removed background, a substituted background. This can all be done in real time, and that's really exciting, again, from a content creator standpoint. So I'm having a great time here, although I am sorry that I'm missing the show today, and Juan, you and I will have to talk all about this stuff when we get back. I have also been given special access to a reference design unit that won't even be announced until tomorrow. So the day you guys are watching this, it'll be today, the day of this video, and I'm not allowed to talk about it because at the time that this will air on our show, it will not have been released from embargo yet. It will not technically have been announced yet, or it's just being announced as we speak. But I have early access to it. I'm kind of teasing it in some of my Instagram posts, and I'll be making a full YouTube video on it on my channel, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, love you, miss you guys, can't wait to see you when I get back, and yeah, then we have CES to talk about. My goodness. All right, see you soon, guys.
Well, thanks for sending that report on location, Trisha. I'd just like to reiterate that I'm like totes not jealous that you are taking really awesome beach photos down in Hawaii and talking about cool tech all at the same time. It's fine. It's good. I'm glad that you are able to do that. And it's not like we miss you or anything. It's cool. It's fine. So, just to the actual substance of what she's getting to check out down there. Qualcomm announcing some pretty aggressive strategies for not only mobile technologies, but I think what we're going to be seeing as future trends. Things we've talked about on the show in episodes past, really trying to migrate to more dedicated hardware for specific types of solutions. Those AI features we're already seeing come to fruition on things like camera tech. When you look at Night Sight on the Pixel, it's a very impressive photography solution that's only going to be made better by having dedicated hardware that can take advantage of some of those software processes. Now, I know a lot of the carriers are getting lit up. I'd really like to see, I'm kind of checking in on the live stream where carriers are making the big pitch for 5G. What are your guys' thoughts on 5G? Maybe if we can get a couple cool comments, we can comment on some of that later on in the show. But I kind of feel like 5G is going to be one of the least impressive aspects of the launch of this new generation of tech, where we have to wait for carriers to put in the backhaul for all the new towers that are going up, where at the same time we're going to have much better gaming capabilities, CPU speeds and GPU speeds that are going to be much more impressive than in years past. Some really cool bumps. And then also Trisha teasing a mystery product announcement. What could it be? She's letting us know that there's going to be another announcement later on today. I'm going to try and drag out this show as long as possible because Qualcomm has an announcement at 11, and I wanted to see, like, you know, you can just send directly from our show over to Qualcomm's announcement. We can get some really cool stuff there. But that's the stuff that I'm going to be really excited about for the next generation of phones. It's not necessarily just, we've got a faster CPU, and now you can open up Facebook a fraction of a second faster. It's, we want to see what type of hardware components can really play into future services, AR, VR, and again, hot gaming, cool camera tech, all this stuff that we really want to see. So we'll have some more news, and Trisha will be here in the studio next week, talk about that stuff too. But to switch gears, let's take a step away from upcoming news and new product releases and carrier technologies. Look back at the year in review, the year in the rear view mirror. I'm actually impressed that I just got that out of my face. 2018 has been a huge year in consumer tech, and we've been here each week on Newegg Now, tracking the big developments that you care most about. So we started the year at CES checking out QLED versus OLED displays, wireless VR from HTC and Intel, a ton of great PC hardware. In fact, Intel has had a really exciting year with new tech throughout all of 2018. Of course, recently with their new 9th generation CPUs, they just launched those. And they've stopped by Newegg Now several times to talk about things like Optane memory and the Hades Canyon Nook. Some really cool products to showcase. So we've also been joined here in the studio multiple times throughout the year by our pals at Corsair, showing us how far you can take RGB lighting. It's advanced and it's basically in everything now. AMD stopped by to give us a look at their 2nd generation Threadripper CPUs. I personally got a little assist from some of those AMD folks while I was rebuilding my own system. Thank you very much. And of course, we've had guests from EVGA, Asus, MSI, Gigabyte, Zotac, and many, many more sharing the latest updates with their 2080 GPUs, their gaming laptops, and all sorts of other great technologies. Beyond Newegg Now, the team here at Newegg Studios has gotten their hands on a ton of great hardware throughout the year. And since we're coming to the end of the year, I think it would be really awesome if we had some kind, like some way to like look at some of that, you know, like a highlight reel of some kind. Like if we could like do it in a montage, you know, like like showcasing that cool gear, came through the studio over the last 12 months. Like, it would be really great if we could do something like what I just described. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Yeah? Oh, we do. Oh, that's great. Okay, so yeah, in the earpiece that I don't actually have in my ear, I've just been told we do have that video, and that's just super. So let's throw to that, let's check it out, and let's reminisce about some of our favorite gadgets of 2018. Let's cut to that. That's just awesome. Yeah, I love looking back at some of that stuff. So much happens in a month, let alone where we were a year ago. It's just crazy. So, folks, if you aren't already subscribed to Newegg Studios on YouTube, following Newegg on Facebook, make sure you do. The team here puts out some of the best looking hardware videos around. I should know, I produce some of my own content on the side. It's really hard pulling off sexy looking shots of technology and components and stuff like that. And the team here does an amazing job week after week after week. And they're gonna keep right on doing it through 2019 too. So hook them up, check it out, subscribe, smash that bell icon, all of those YouTube-isms. Do that, they're worth it. They're a good team to follow. While we're talking about some awesome hardware, there are a few more deals we wanna highlight for you on newegg.com/Newegg now. I think if we can throw that back up again. You saw Gigabyte in that gear montage, and we've had them on the show quite a few times this year, and they're always showing off cool new GPUs and motherboards. We actually have a deal on one of their best gaming motherboards, the Aorus Z370 Gaming 7, for $30 off right now. This is a feature-rich board with plenty of lighting options, perfect for your 8th gen Intel chip build. So if you're looking for a home for your new PC, your new build, there's a cool case on that deals page that we can help you save money on. The Deepcool Matrix 55 with integrated RGB and tempered glass for less than 40 bucks. And if you're looking to upgrade your power supply, check out the Corsair TXM series 850 watt PSU that you can pick up right now for less than $70. It's a great time to power up your system. I mean, literally juice it up with more power. If you're serious about streaming, you'll want to invest in a PCIe capture card, like this Elgato Game Capture HD60 Pro. I use the USB version of the HD60, and I like it a lot, but this allows you to capture footage straight from any modern console or PC directly into your PC storage or to your favorite streaming service if you're doing it live. Has Game Stream built in, so you won't need any other software. This will get you up and running streaming almost immediately. Right now, you can pick up this card for less than $130. Good times. Okay, now, before we move off of the subject of hardware to talk about the best games of 2018, I want to call attention to the festive holiday PC footage that's been right here next to me all show long. This is Newegg's Yule PC, and it's currently streaming live from another part of this I'm going to track it down after the show, but it's in the studio somewhere, and I actually don't know where they've staged it. Maybe make that a little BTS. We'll go explore on Periscope together. It could happen. Really, and we're going to see it's going to keep on streaming live throughout the whole month of December. So we're going to throw up part of this on the video right now. You're probably familiar with the Yule log fireplace videos. I mean, it started out as an old television tradition, broadcast television tradition from back in the day. It's come back in a huge way with 4K HDR videos on the internet, videos on Netflix and YouTube, combining footage of a cozy fireplace, the sounds of the season, whether that's holiday music or just the little crickles and cracks of a fireplace as wood burns that, you know, for a lot of us, we don't have fireplaces that we can really do that in. So this year, Newegg has upgraded that tradition for the modern age with a special holiday-themed PC build, live streaming throughout the whole month. December, it's going to be our Yule PC, complete with RGB lights that dance along to the music. So the link to the Yule stream is in the description below this video on YouTube and Facebook if you want to check that out. You can also get a look at the full spec list for this build. Sorry, it's cracking me up because to stream a Yule log and have dancing RGBs, they built this system around an Intel i9-9980XE CPU on an Asus X299 Prime Deluxe motherboard with an EVGA RTX 2080 Ti GPU and a Thermaltake V71 case. Because, you know, you need the ray tracing for your Yule log, so you got to keep it all cool. So there will be deals on related products you'll be able to check out on that page all month long. But if you just want to leave the live stream on for the atmosphere, that's just fine with us. It's why we've got it set up in streaming. And again, with Thermaltake doing the case design, you know that this is the coolest Yule log fire you would ever sit next to. It's kind of incredible. All right, coming up next, I'll be joined by the managing editor of Newegg's GameCrate.com to talk about the best games of 2018. You're not going to want to miss that. Stay right there.
I save souls. But unlike the chosen one sent before, God will never let you take me.
So I'm a man now, like you?
No, we are not men. We are more than that. The responsibility is far greater. I refuse to bury any more friends.
You won't have to. Aldrin Sov is mine.
Welcome back to Newegg Now. We're in the final month of the year. All bets are off. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate releases for Switch tomorrow, and that's kind of the final big game release of the year. Game of the Year awards are starting to roll out. In fact, one of the biggest award shows in the world of gaming, the appropriately named Game Awards, happens tonight, this very evening. All that means it's the perfect time for us to talk about the best games of 2018. And joining me to have that conversation, to dig in deep, talk about some of the philosophy of ranking and reviewing games, Nick from Neweggs GameCrate.com. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Excellent. I'm happy to have someone to talk to who's not in Hawaii right now.
Yeah. You've been doing really, really well the first half of the show, but now we'll give you a little break. You won't have to talk constantly.
I just I was actually trying to ask people while we were in the last video, like, am I talking way too fast? It feels like
it's
I
hard.
have
solo, right?
It's hard to get a feel for it. Okay, so to start things up, I mean, we had a conversation where we had you on last year to kind of wrap up last year in a similar way, just so that we can remind people out there your title, what you do at Newegg and with GameCrate.
Yeah, so I'm the managing editor here at Newegg Studios, so that means that I do a lot of behind-the-scenes work on this show, Newegg Now, and also Newegg's GameCrate.com, Newegg Insider, Unlocked, and a lot of the other like editorial-related and adjacent content that we produce. So I've been working at Newegg for about 5 years making that different sorts of content.
So, I mean, like, you pretty much just get paid to play video games all day.
That's what people always say. I never get to complain about my job because that is part of it. I wish that was more of it, but yes, I do get to do that sometimes. So yeah, I won't complain.
Again, it's like, if you've ever worked in any creative space, especially when you're reviewing things, it's like, I really wish more of my time were spent doing the thing that I'm talking about.
That everybody thinks it's all of it, but yeah.
So, but I mean, you've definitely been able to dig in deeper. You've been playing a lot of the titles, covering them for this year. Well, I mean, let's just cut to the chase. What do you think are the titles that are going to take some of these top award spots this year?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Game Awards tonight, and the Game Awards are interesting because like GameCrate.com has been around longer than the Game Awards in their current incarnation. They were from the Spike TV Game Awards originally.
I actually went to one of the first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of those first broadcasts where they were trying to make it like the MTV Movie Awards.
Yeah, looking back at those first ones, they don't hold up very well.
They haven't aged well. Yeah. They really haven't.
But the Game Awards, like they get a lot of credibility from people because they're voted on by a lot of like news organizations, like game journalism organizations, and the nominees that you see are pretty good representation of what people think are the best games.
Yeah.
And they do a good job of not just picking the big AAA titles. Indie games get a lot of attention. We'll talk about that when we talk about some of the different nominations. But I mean, Red Dead is a game that everybody's talking about right now, and that's up for a lot of awards, and it does deserve a lot of awards. God of War is another example of that. Probably deserves to be in the conversation for some of the very best games. But it'll be good to go through a few different categories because, like you were saying, how you categorize these different games, what is up against what, is a good way to talk about what the best games of the year are.
Well, and also because we had a conversation about this before we went live. It also helps us diversify the conversation a little, where we can categorize. Even if the game doesn't necessarily feel like it deserves the win, there are a number of games in specific categories that certainly deserve attention.
Yeah.
So the nomination process, and just like we would talk about for like a Hollywood award show, that attention still helps drive discussion to titles that were totally deserving, even if they didn't quite land that top spot.
Yeah, it's so interesting with like games as pieces of art, as pieces of entertainment. Like not every movie is for every person, and not every game is for every person. So you really have to like categorize them. Like if you like action games, for example, these are the games you should have checked out this year. So we can talk about the action game of the year.
We just pulled it up right here. So best action game nominees at the Game Awards, we're talking Black Ops 4, Dead Cells, Destiny 2 Forsaken, Far Cry 5, and Mega Man 11. That actually Mega Man was the surprising one.
The fact that Mega Man, like in 2018, Mega Man is in the discussion for best action game of the year.
So that to me is a perfect example of, I don't feel there's any expectation that Mega Man's going to walk away with the top spot.
Probably not this.
But it was such a labor of love to bring that franchise into 2018 and to come up with a relevant title that it deserves some conversation.
Yeah, like Mega Man fans have had hard years here for a little while. Where like a lot of getting a lot of hopes up and not having. But 2018, between Mega Man 11 and like the Mega Man Legacy collections, it's a really good year for that franchise. But the one that I want to give the most attention to out of this category is Dead Cells. I think we have some footage of that we can show, but Dead Cells is what I would pick. If these are your nominees, and we're basing this on the Game Awards nominations, if Dead Cells is in this conversation, it is the best game of the games on this list. It's better than Far Cry 5. It's better than Black Ops 4. Like, Dead Cells is a perfect execution of what it does, which is a combination of a roguelite and a Metroidvania kind of experience. I played it. It's the game I played the most on the Switch this year. That's a great place to play it. But if you did play it on the PC earlier, it was in early access, and you had a chance to like shape it. It looks really cool. It's all about like going through the levels over and over again, getting as far as you can, and then dying. But you make progress, and you unlock power-ups, and you unlock weapons that will then appear in the world in the future. I wrote our review for Game Crate. Talked about how it's really, really hard to put down because you just play, you go, even you die, you immediately want to go back into the world. It's like, oh, I know how that enemy killed me. I can do it better next time.
Now, so this is I think again we're going to get into that conversation about gaming and the type of audience that likes to get into this deep dive, these kinds of discussions.
Right.
Just this category requires some kind of definition, action.
Yeah, this is the one I think we usually have the most trouble categorizing when we're on Game Crate each year. Is we've done like the first-person shooter of the year. Right. But 2018 does not have very many first-person shooters that are worth talking about.
Yeah, first-person shooter experience.
On the Game Award, the Action Game nominees, you have Black Ops 4 and you have Destiny 2 Forsaken, but that's a DLC, so we wouldn't put that up for an overall Game Award, although it did really bring that game back from the brink.
Yeah.
Far Cry 5 is a fun game, but it's not, it has a lot of problems. It's not going to win the best action game, but it's like Mega Man 11 is up against Call of Duty in this category. That's such a weird categorization.
A broad sort of scope.
Yeah, but what do? You don't have enough shooting games this year to really make it work, to have a pure shooter category. So you have to put these games together, and all of them are fast-paced. They're Twitch-based, like you need to move quickly in all of them. So yeah, there is a lot of overlap appeal between those different games. But like I said, like if that was the categorization, that won't be the categorization on Game Crate. But if that was the nominees that were up against each other, I think Dead Cells is the best game from that pack.
Like so for like an action definition, would we say like a Reflex? Like a game that's going to rely heavily on that kind of...
The other tricky thing, we're not really going to get into the Game Awards action-adventure category, but they have action and action-adventure, and that's where they put games like Tomb Raider, and I think like Assassin's Creed, Odyssey. It's like, why is there that big of a difference between those two? And like Hitman 2 is a really good example. Hitman 2 doesn't appear in those categories.
But it borrows a lot of the same mechanics
in
slower,
the world.
And
it's slower, it's stealth-based and everything, but I don't know what category that goes in. That's part of the thing of being somebody who's going to put out these awards and talk about these awards is what are your definitions? With so many games these days blurring the lines and things, it's interesting. Yeah.
Now, as a way that before we move on fully, because we're going to talk about indie games next, and this kind of can help us segue into this. When you were talking about Dead Cells. One of the things you talked about was the early access on PC, really the community really helping to shape that. And I was going through the live chat on YouTube just a second ago, and especially talking about PC gaming, which we're going to talk about too. That really felt like it was a stumbling block for a lot of our core developers out there, where you get a game out, it's got some rough edges, the developer doesn't reply to their Reddit community as appropriately as they maybe should have. And then you've got the flip side of that is a game like Dead Cells, which really embraced that community, really took their suggestions to heart, and then arrived at this razor sharp game mechanic.
Yeah, that's a good word for it, for sure. Yeah, early access can really be a double-edged sword, and I think Dead Cells is an example of a game that does it right. You open up the game to people who are interested in it and being part of the development, and you listen to them. You refine the game based on player feedback and based on the data that you're getting from them. And that's something that you mostly are going to get on PC. There's some forms of early access on some consoles as well, but it's primarily a PC Steam-based thing. But Dead Cells is like the development team is a small like collective where they all get paid the same thing. It's a really interesting kind of story. It's very outside the traditional structure. But on the other hand, you have early access as a label that in the worst cases is like put out a game that it's not really finished and we want money for it now and we're not going to finish it ever, and that's what you don't want to do.
That's a very cynical.
It's really exciting to remove those barriers, and like if you want people to give you feedback, what do they want this game to be? That can really be a positive thing, but you also don't want it to be an excuse to put out a game that's not done, it's not polished, it's broken. Right?
Do you think that philosophical approach to development is going to start weighing in on our conversations about game reviewing and game awards?
Yes, it absolutely has to. Like over the past few years, I think we had this conversation last year when on this like end of the year thing, is PUBG was the biggest game of the year over that time span, but it was technically in early access for a long period of time, right? And like Fortnite, whether the different parts of it leaving early access with that technicality at different times, when do you review those games? When are they eligible for awards? There was some anger online like a month ago because Fortnite, I think, won Game of the Year over something else on, people said it's on a technicality, right? Because it technically came out over the past year, but it's not a major issue. You just have to, it's all arbitrary, right? Genre is largely arbitrary. You have to decide, once a game is out and a ton of people are playing it, I think it's fair to review it with the idea that so many games, even games that have been released, change significantly after release. So a game as a static product that is 100% done, that's not how games exist anymore.
Yeah. So let's jump into indie. We've got the Indie Game of the Year nominees here. We've got Celeste, Dead Cells, Return of the Obra Dinn.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
The Messenger, and Into the Breach.
Yeah.
Now,
So
I'm assuming you're going to have high praise for Dead Cells again.
Dead Cells is definitely a big one here. But actually, I want to start by talking about Into the Breach. I think we have some footage of that, so we can. Totally. I had you guys talk about this one at the halfway point of this year as a contender for Game of the Year, and I think Into the Breach is an overall contender for Game of the Year. I would give it the edge over even Dead Cells. All the praise I had for Dead Cells.
Nice.
Into the Breach is the game I played the most on PC out of any game all this year. And you look around on Twitter and social media, you see a lot of people saying similar things because Into the Breach it's a very small, bite-sized tactical game. You move, your robots on a grid. It's very Pacific Rim because it's robots versus aliens. It's all about like getting maximum value out of just a handful of moves. A match of Into the Breach is less than 10 moves, right? Less than 10 turns. You just have to protect as many buildings as you can, and the deal is you always see what the aliens are going to do each turn before they do it, or what the bugs, I think they might not technically be aliens, but what the bugs are going to do each turn before they do it. So you see what their targets are going to be. You see where they're going to attack. So you have one turn to use your different robots and minimize as much damage as you can and take out as many as you can.
Considering what like the next, like again, like a game of chess where you set the board, what your next 5 moves are going to be after that too.
Yeah. Into the Breach is a fantastic game. It came out for Switch, which I think would be maybe an even better platform to play it because it is such a great, like, it's almost like a phone game, but you need a little bit more robust platform, so the Switch is good for that. But yeah, I can't say enough about how much I liked Into the Breach. And if you have not played it and you like tactics games at all, if you like XCOM or anything like that, for me, it's like reminds me of Shining Force more than anything, the old Genesis era tactical RPG, and Into the Breach, super great. I've talked about Dead Cells a lot. Celeste is getting a lot of attention as well. That actually, we just on Game Crate yesterday published our overall indie game of the year, and we gave it to Celeste. I don't get to make all the decisions. I didn't decide which one it was, but
I was expecting like I've overruled.
Well, I might do that on overall game of the year. We'll see. But no, like Celeste is getting a ton of praise. It's a really challenging platformer, like Super Meat Boy with a better story.
Okay.
Kind of like more emphasis on the story and emotions. It deals with things like anxiety and challenges and loneliness and that kind of stuff.
Definitely some serious themes because there's even we're going to spend a lot of time on this, but even for the Game Awards, the mobile one of the mobile games has it's not even really a game. It's more of a sort of an interactive story.
Oh yeah, you're seeing a lot more of that. Yeah, and they have that best narrative category where like they're awarding games like that. But yeah, Celeste, games are not afraid of dealing with those like mature themes anymore. Even a game like Celeste, which it's a platformer, you jump around and have that kind of challenge. So the mechanics aren't that different than what we've seen in a lot of games before, but it's more polished and it does things in a more mature way.
Right.
If you like that kind of platformer thing, you also might want to check out The Messenger. The Messenger has kind of a twist to it that I won't spoil here, but you should look up some footage and see if it's that sort of thing that you like. Definitely a retro-inspired platformer. And then Return of the Obra Dinn deserves discussion. It's a very like retro monochrome kind of presentation, and it basically is like the best presentation ever of like a murder mystery logic puzzle. Those kind of puzzles that like this person was sitting next to this person and they were holding this kind of item, the sort of thing you see on like the LSAT, the law school test.
Okay. Yeah.
Like that's what Obra Dinn is, but it's a huge scale. You're solving all these murder mysteries on a ship. You're recreating what happened. And it's not like anything else that's out there. It's a really, really interesting title.
It's interesting you brought that up because I just started playing Orwell, which is another I'm just sitting at a computer terminal reading emails to try and figure out how crimes are conducted.
Exactly,
and it's really creepy and snoopy. Not Snoopy the dog, I'm snooping on people.
I think people understand.
But that also is something that I've been very taken with these last couple years for the indie scene is this move away from trying to impress or trying to compete with AAA titles. And something that we can't do in any other medium, really.
That's a good point. Yeah.
No one wants to go back to the kind of cinema verite film effects of the 1970s. But we can approach retro style mechanics, retro style graphics with modern gaming techniques in a way that's way more accessible.
Yeah, that's a very good point. There always has been an indie film scene, and every year indie films get some attention, but rarely do you see indie films that are purposely looking and evoking things like old films used to do. But that's what indie games do all the time. And I would be interested to compare and contrast because I think a lot more people, or a much larger percentage, play indie games than see those really indie films. A short film that's 20 minutes long or whatever, they may get awards every year, but how many people actually saw that compared to how many people have played Into the Breach or Dead Cells? Those are hugely popular games. They sold a ton.
Or when we spent some time with Deltarune.
Yeah, that's a good example.
It's a classic, sort of top-down RPG game style. And in 2018, we're still putting up a razor-sharp game mechanic with Tetris.
Tetris Effect. Yeah.
Moving it into new methods and genre of gameplay.
Yeah.
In ways that, again, we can't recreate those experiences in music. No one wants to go back to 4-track tape.
I guess
from
the example
back in the old days with ribbon mics.
Yeah, with music you would be talking about retro wave and lo-fi, purposely evoking that kind of there's definitely that nostalgia, but I don't think anywhere is it as prominent as it is in games.
As accessible, yeah. So we've done Indie Game of the Year. We should definitely talk about Best Ongoing Game. This is always a category that I think is interesting because of the way that you were saying. We've been needing to evolve our commentary on games where it's not like any other product, you review a finished item. So the nominees we have for Ongoing Game, Destiny 2 Forsaken, Fortnite, No Man's Sky, Overwatch, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. And for me, it really feels like this is the category where you can have that really optimistic, that happy conversation about a comeback in this space.
Yeah, I really love that they have this category, this Best Ongoing Game, because we were saying, people don't like the idea, the phrase games as a service has a lot of negative stuff attached to it, but there's also the idea that you buy a DVD, you buy a book, it's not going to get patched, right? It's not going to, if the book is bad, it's going to be bad in 2 years. But Fallout 76 maybe will be really good in a year or two, right? Fingers crossed.
Come on, Bethesda.
Because there was a lot of people that completely wrote off No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky is the one I would give the edge here. I reviewed No Man's Sky and actually liked it when it came out as it was, but I said in my review, this is a game a lot of people are not going to like because it largely was just about experiencing the visuals and it relied on you to come up with your own objectives and satisfaction inside. It's I use the example of people who climb a mountain, and the classic answer is, why did you climb that mountain? And because it's there, right? That's what No Man's Sky at launch was. You had to just be okay with, I'm just going to go to another planet and see what it's like because it's there. There was very little else, and that's not satisfying enough for a lot of people. But No Man's Sky in 2018, the updates that they've released, base building, real true multiplayer sort of focused events, so much more visual diversity in what you can do, a much stronger central story. No Man's Sky in 2018 is a legit good game that everybody should give a chance.
It almost feels like a very different animal
Absolutely.
Because of those aspects. Yeah. Do you think that we can launch something like that out of the gate now? Because I feel like in very different ways, Fallout 76 has tried to arrive at something that now No Man's Sky is doing better. But they've made some serious missteps in other directions for some of the exploration and some of the team communication and multiplayer aspects. It seems like I again, I'm not saying that a developer can't, but it seems like no developer has found that magic sauce at launch. Everyone sort of needed to find a more circuitous path that gets them to a more finished gaming experience.
it's interesting, and like you have to be hopeful for Fallout 76 that it will be able to recover and be winning this award in a year or 2 years down the road. I mean, but it also is like how could Bethesda have not fixed these things in advance? It's like, can Bethesda put out Fallout 76 and have it in early access? Because that's clearly what was needed.
Yeah.
Right. And then similarly to No Man's Sky, there's also this big disconnect between the marketing and the actual experience. It's actually inverted, because in No Man's Sky there was this big emphasis on you're sharing the world with everybody else, but you really weren't.
You really
at
weren't.
launch. And in Fallout 76, they were kind of trying to make it like it's just like Fallout that you love, but it's not that. It's a multiplayer survival game, which is not what the average person or the core Fallout fan was necessarily looking for. It might still have been like, it clearly is appealing to some people. There are those who like Fallout 76 out there, and they might be enough to like help grow the game as it gets fixed and they add more stuff to it. But those are not the same. They're not enjoying it the same way you enjoyed Fallout 4 or Fallout New Vegas or something.
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
I mean, again, completely different play styles. How do you think an Overwatch fits into this category?
Yeah, I
'Cause
mean,
there hasn't ever, to my awareness of Overwatch, there hasn't ever really been a period of high drama, like a fan backlash or anything, serious missteps.
Yeah.
But I also haven't felt like Overwatch has had like the big explosion, the mass sort of crossover gaming appeal.
Yeah.
It's kind of found its pocket. It does it better, I think, than anyone else. But then it's not really tried to push any boundaries beyond its core demographic.
I think that's a very fair assessment. I think Overwatch is an example of something we've seen from Blizzard time and time again. They come into a genre, they do it better than anybody else, and they put all of their experience and polish into it. Because Overwatch it's a multiplayer online shooter, right? It's team-based and everything. So as successful as those games ever are, there's a cap. Because a lot of people are not interested in those sorts of games. Overwatch does a better job with its like diversity of play styles among the different characters. You can play as a Mercy and not get a single kill and be instrumental to your team being. Or like my favorite character is Junkrat, because I don't have particularly great aim. You don't necessarily need to as Junkrat because of all of his explosives and everything. Overwatch makes it like, and they've continued to add new characters. They've continued to keep the multiplayer scene very healthy. They have the Overwatch League. They're doing something very interesting there. And like the fact that Fortnite is in the category, the biggest game of the year is also the best ongoing game. Like it may very well win the category just because it's so dominant. And Fortnite is an example of a game where it feels like all of the money they're making is going back into that game continually, because all of the seasons are new. They keep changing things, adding all the new content. And so Fortnite is a really good example too.
And they also seem to be really embracing the debate in their player base. Because like not every move is going to be sort of uniformly popular or appreciated. And you've got a very aggressive player base that comments on that kind of stuff. But they also seem to have a better understanding of like, oh, this might actually upset a few people, and embracing that for the debate in where their game could go after that.
If you check out the Fortnite Reddit, there's just such a funny history of they add a feature and they immediately turn it off because it's broken, or they add it and then it makes everybody furious, but then a few months later everybody's just accepted it.
On board, right?
They are not afraid to keep trying things out with it, and
totally,
you got to respect that to a certain extent. It's hard to argue with what Fortnite is doing. Right.
Now, for a game award kind of thing, and especially when you guys are looking at articles for writing on this kind of stuff at Game Crate, how much of like a lobbying effort is there from these companies? Because like major titles, high visibility, but do you think you'd ever see like a Path of Exile in an ongoing game category, or is that a game that's kind of flying under the radar on sort of its own merits, its own community, and it's not really seeking?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. We don't get to vote on like the game awards. We're not one of the pool of 70. So maybe if we were, we'd see the level of lobbying that because there's people always talk about like Academy Awards lobbying and everything like that.
It's a big
for your
deal,
consideration and everything. But you do get emails from like PR agencies and publishers like, hey, if you're putting out a best games of the year or best in this category, please give us some consideration and everything. But it's nothing that's really going to sway you, and you know what you played and what the community played, and when you put something out what kind of reaction it gets, how many people are reading about it. So all of that goes into making these sorts of decisions at the end of the year.
Right on. Okay, so we did sort of tease this a little bit. A lot of folks were commenting on this in the live chat.
Yeah.
PC Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Definitely, well, this is not a category you're going to see at the Game Awards, but for our audience, especially for anyone who's really into the Newegg scene, this is definitely something that's super relevant as we're building this. And most likely the game that wins Game of the Year from any other publication probably won't be a PC-only title. It might not even be playable.
Yeah, most likely won't even be on PC right now.
Playable on a PC. So, and I was really trying to rack my brain. What do you think we would put up for a PC title, Game of the Year 2018?
Yeah, it's so interesting. And you guys talked about the same thing last year with last year's Game of the Year was Breath of the Wild. Generally, that was the consensus.
Right.
Obviously not on PC, never going to be on PC. Mario Odyssey was also in a contender, not going to be on PC. And this year, we'll get to the nominees for overall Game of the Year, but what wins from most outlets is not going to be playable on PC right now, which is a shame, but it is the truth.
And might not even be playable if you don't have a PlayStation.
Yes, yeah, maybe a PS4 exclusive, but there's something to that. There's something to the reason that part of the reason Breath of the Wild is so good is because Nintendo put a lot of money and effort and freedom for the developers and everything into making that such a hit. Because if you're putting out a game that is also designed to sell systems, there's a lot more riding on that one particular title as opposed to something that's going to come out across multiple platforms. But if we're talking about PC Game of the Year, two of the games I've talked about a lot already, Into the Breach and Dead Cells, both available on PC. From some ways of judging, might be the best way to play them is on the PC, right? Nice. Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire, that I think on Metacritic, that may be the highest rated game that you can play on PC by some ways of measuring it. I didn't play that personally, but I played the past Pillars of Eternity games. Those games often do come to consoles eventually, but isometric RPGs, that's a PC thing. You should be playing Baldur's Gate style games on PC.
On PC.
Pointing and clicking and pausing with spacebar and everything.
I recently, in breaking in my new workstation, I'm just going to slum it on some Torchlight.
Yeah.
Went back and you're like, this game was really good. I just want to kind of break in everything. I did a Twitch stream I'm just messing around. I'm not doing this for real. And then I kind of just I got sucked back into it. There's no way to replicate that with the same kind of finesse.
Right.
Without your proper PC setup. I don't know if maybe Xbox gives us proper mouse and keyboard support, we could get closer.
Even then, I don't want to be using a keyboard and mouse on Xbox. I'll just use the PC. That's what it's for.
And then do it for real.
Yeah. Also worth mentioning on games you could play on PC, Monster Hunter World, although that had a rough PC launch, that's also in the conversation for Game of the Year. You have to like that sort of game, the online game and the online-only MMO. Forza Horizon 4 is also, that's one of those Xbox One / PC. A lot of racing gamers, people who play a lot of racing games, have the wheel, they have the throttle and everything else. They have the 1 or 3 curved monitors. They have the PC setup to play racing games. And if that's what you like, Forza Horizon 4 is definitely one of the best titles of this year.
And I think a PC definitely gives you that more linear conversion. Because, you look at all of the tech that we're already kind of working with and the lifestyle accessories, even our chairs for PC gamers are already kind of there. So if you want a good racer back chair and you've got the setup properly, the monitors at eye level, everything that you would want, I would hate to play a racing game on my living room setup because we've got a high wall-mounted TV.
Oh yeah, that's just not right.
Controller, everything feels wrong about that. The second I'm at my desk in front of my workstation, okay, it's go time. I'm ready to
This is how to play that game. Yeah, for
definitely.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so we should probably talk the Game of the Year, though.
Game of the Year.
Nominees from the Game Awards: Assassin's Creed Odyssey, definitely not a surprise there. Celeste, God of War, Marvel's Spider-Man, who Yuri Lowenthal should definitely win for Voice Actor of the Year, because he's my buddy.
He did the double lines where, when he's out of breath, they sound differently and everything. That's a lot of work, and it's very impressive.
Yeah, but he's my bro.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter World and Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
So would these have been your nominees?
If
for an overall game of the year?
when we do it on Game Crate, we listen to all of our writers and editors and we put it in there. I personally don't think I would have included Monster Hunter World on this list.
Okay.
I think it's a good game, but I think that the other ones in this conversation are a tier above in terms of overall polish and popularity and longevity and that sort of thing.
So what would you have swapped out if you
honestly, I would have put Dead Cells or Into the Breach, right? I know that I like Into the Breach more than a lot of people, but that's a particular genre. But those who do like it really, really like it. And,
it's a spot, again, like we were saying, maybe it doesn't deserve to win, but if you're talking about a game that's executing its core mechanic, as like again, as best as you could execute that mechanic, then it deserves to be a part of that conversation.
Yeah, definitely. And like I think Celeste is the indie nod that they've given here, which it's a very deserving game. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, like I've never really been super into the Assassin's Creed games, but those who are, I mean, Odyssey and Origins were both very, very popular. People say they're very, very good. I think people liked Origins a little bit more than necessarily liking Odyssey.
Okay.
But yeah, the other one that, like, if we're talking about, we're going through these nominations, we're trying to say what's the actual head-to-head, what's the final two? I think Spider-Man is the one that doesn't quite make the cut. Spider-Man is a great execution of a Spider-Man game, right?
Yeah.
Really, really great. It's super polished and popular. It's really well executed.
Don't you feel it's a little anachronistic?
That's a good word for it.
It's like the best version of an older open sandbox idea. Like, again, I feel like it deserves that discussion for how much I love swinging through New York City, but I don't feel it necessarily pushed any new boundaries.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
Where the new stuff actually takes you away from gameplay. Like some of the side quests and some of the side missions where you're not Peter Parker, which to me kind of hit the brakes a little on.
That's always controversial.
I want to do a stealth mission. I still want to be Spider-Man. Like I want to go explore this tech, this laboratory. Still want to do it as Spider-Man. But even for as expertly executed as it was, I kind of feel like we need to give it the nomination. This is the best possible example of this type of game, but it hasn't necessarily broken something new in this genre of the style of play.
Yeah, Marvel's Spider-Man is a game that like we should have had. There's no reason that we had so many great Batman games and we weren't also having so many great Spider-Man games all the way along.
Like it kind of felt like we should have been playing this kind of Spider-Man, like around 2nd or 3rd gen Arkham.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there were a couple of good Spider-Man games, but it just hasn't been that consistent thing. And so it deserves to be in the conversation, but I think if you're talking about Game of the Year for 2018, the real battle is between God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2. So
I definitely agree with that.
Let's start by talking about God of War. I think we have some footage, but everybody's seen it by now. It came out much earlier this year. You guys gave it a shot on the show. God of War, PS4 exclusive, obviously, so that's going to be controversial. Incredibly satisfying combat, really powerful story, and like emotional, really seriously emotional in God of War, which...
This is definitely one of the biggest aspects for me where God of War started out as this kind of almost tongue-in-cheek, gory action slasher.
Very much of its time.
Its time. These developers have brought it into a more mature storytelling genre. I mean, it's like almost as if you played the first God of War when it was out and it was new, and you've grown up.
Exactly.
This game has, this franchise, I should say, has grown up with you, and this God of War now I think represents a zenith in bringing both hardcore action, third-person combat to a story that you really invest in as it progresses.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it. It's like it really is like the game maturing, but still being like a really great, fun-to-play action game. Like the combat is so satisfying. It's so highly polished from beginning to end. It's a fairly linear experience, although there are portions where you can go different directions. But it delivers a story that has highs and lows, and the characters actually have development over time, and there's surprises and twists and turns and everything. It's a game where almost everything is executed on a super high level. It's also one of the best looking games of all time, overall. Especially on the PS4 Pro. If you're playing God of War on the PS4 Pro, you're seeing one of the best looking games that has ever been made. And we were talking about the PS4 is nearing the end of its life cycle. So I
know it's like developers have finally figured out what to do with this box, and we're gonna probably start talking about next gen consoles.
Yeah, there's not that many more years for it. But yeah, God of War is a really strong contender. So, but let's talk about the other one that's getting a lot of hype recently, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Red Dead 2.
Yeah. Another game that looks fantastic, whether you're playing it on Xbox or PS4 or the Pro or the Xbox One X. really huge, great-looking open world. The stuff they do with the light and the mists and the foliage moving and everything, like just such a great natural world. There's a lot of parts of Red Dead 2 where you have to travel a long distance by horseback, hopefully, if your horse didn't get hurt or something. And then
Always sad when you have to put a horse down.
Yeah, it's not a good experience. But you sit back and you just hold the one button, you put it into cinematic mode, and you just watch. You watch from like cinematic angles as you're.
And it's like a Gregory Peck film. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like, this is wide open Technicolor right here.
It's so
gorgeous.
good. It's such a visually striking
Now,
game.
do you think that's going to be one of the primary debates? Having the more linear, I think the more mythic story against that broader open world exploration.
Yeah,
vibe.
they're very different sorts of games, God of War and Red
Huge,
Dead 2.
yeah.
Like Red Dead 2 lets you make your own game, right? It has a strong central story, and there's a lot of emotional moments in Red Dead 2 as well, but it's inside this giant open world, and you could spend all your time just hunting or gambling or drinking in the saloon or whatever you want to do. And there's a lot of silly stuff in Red Dead 2. There's a lot of stuff that like you run a carriage into a tree stump and you go flying and ragdoll and that sort of stuff. The kinds of like rough edges or just goofy stuff you don't see in a game like God of War.
Yeah.
And that can be a good thing, that can be a bad thing. Like Red Dead Online, people are having a ton of fun in Red Dead Online, but it's just people running around shooting people constantly and horses flying through the air.
I think what's great is
everything.
like the main sort of single player campaign is a really great gritty Western, Clint Eastwood.
Yes, very
And then-
serious.
very serious. And then the second you get online, it's like this is the spaghetti Western.
Yeah.
The tone completely changes.
Yeah.
Now because of that, because that online experience is a little bit more varied. Do you think that some of the minor controversies of Red Dead 2's grind mechanics, the gold bar mechanic, do you think that that'll weigh against it when people are looking at their final vote tallies for Game of the Year?
Honestly, if I was making the decision between those two, I think you can only count Red Dead Online as like a plus, because Red Dead Redemption 2, even if it didn't have an online mode, is worthy of consideration of Game of the Year.
Right.
The online mode is not going to be for everybody, but it's a plus, but it does have a lot of grind in it. But I don't think you can hold that against the core experience. Okay. But Red Dead Redemption 2, even the single player, has a lot of like grind in it. It has a lot of slow pace. Some people are really not a fan of, you have to tap X repeatedly to run. You have to like sit down and carve the notches in your bullets
I am
and
definitely
everything.
in that camp of maybe a little too much realism isn't always a good thing in every facet of gaming.
It's definitely a choice. It's a stylistic choice that they went with, and for some people it really works well. My personal choice, if I'm making the decision at the end of the day, I had way more fun with God of War. Yeah. God of War was moment to moment the very best game that I played this year. It's such a surprise how great it was, and there's not the rough edges. There's not the parts that in Red Dead you die in frustrating ways and like you get lost or whatever it is. Or like Red Dead is a great game. It offers a ton. It offers a ton more. There's a lot of it's good in different ways, but there's also more rough edges. There's more shortcomings in Red Dead 2. God of War, I just feel like as close as we got this year to a game that did everything perfectly. Yeah. Like, there is no perfect game, but God of War is
well, and going back to my criticism of Spider-Man, we know what a God of War game is, and yet this still manages to find a few new mechanics and a vastly more mature storytelling that I feel really pushed that genre further than just having like a well-oiled Spider-Man game could have. And to your criticisms right there, while Red Dead is definitely taking a broader, more experimental approach to a humongous open cinematic world, there are many more opportunities to have little cracks, little gaps, things that didn't quite get executed. So I mean, is this the spoiler? Did we give God of War game crates? Game of the Year award?
You have to keep reading GameCrate.com because we're going to be giving out all our awards over the next few weeks. Some of these categories we've talked about, some of our own categories. But I'll listen to what our other writers say and what the community says. Like, we take all that into account. If I was making the choice just for myself, it would be God of War. But we'll see. I mean, God of War is definitely, if it's not one, it's number 2. I think that's fair to say. And then where it comes down is we'll take some other input.
Because he might just override the whole thing and give it to Dead Cells.
Dead Cell Into the Breach is also good. Like, we'll see.
I want to put you on the spot real quick before we go. I know we're running a little long. So the Game Awards, they have a mobile category. We mentioned that briefly here too. I'd like to get your thoughts on, so we've got like phone gaming, we've got like the Switch. I should be in contention for any type of discussion of mobile gaming.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What do you think pushes that genre into the... my feeling is we've been let down by developers. So our phones are crazy powerful. Trisha's in Hawaii talking about the next generation of mobile chipsets that are going to be crazy powerful. Is this really just a chicken and the egg? Is this a software thing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like I don't play a ton of games on my phone typically. The ones that I like over time, Pokemon Go is an example of a game that has to be mobile for it to work.
Sense,
right, the basic functionality. I played Ingress before that a little bit, and then these days I play some idle games like Idle Apocalypse because I don't like being on my phone and having to touch it to do a lot of gaming. That's just never been a satisfying experience. But I play the Switch a ton. So maybe it is a matter of if the phone was a little bit bigger and had a little like actual better controls, that would be something else. But
exploit.
For me, there's definitely also a platform fragmentation where sometimes I don't want to be playing on I want to play like an analog game. I want like a board game, something like that. And I spend a lot of time on my phone not playing games. So maybe I just don't want extra hours of the day when I want gaming. I don't want it to be on the same device that
you're doing work from.
Yeah,
getting distractions.
Exactly.
I'm in the middle of something really intense, and then my wife texts me about dinner, and you're like, oh. Well, I died.
Yeah. There's also a big problem with, I think, on mobile marketplaces. There's just so much stuff, and a lot of it's not great.
Most of it's garbage.
Yeah, you've talked about it a lot. Like, a lot of it is just microtransactions, and it's designed to, like, get kids to accidentally spend money.
I mean, just the fact that I can go into Apple or Google Play and say, just filter out against anything that's got microtransactions doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's a good point. That should exist. Yeah. That's the thing. There needs to be, I mean, clearly that market, they need to monetize games in that way because you don't see that many just pure premium mobile games. But I think that's a large strike against the mobile market as well. It's just you have to wade through so much to find those actual like premium experiences or games that aren't designed to constantly like tug on you to get you to spend money. Because that's, for most people, that's not a good experience when you're playing games.
Right, for most people, it's a terrible one. So, Nick, thank you so much for dropping by, man.
Thanks
a
lot.
You gotta have you on more often and help us break down this stuff. And
when there's gaming stuff to talk about, maybe I'll stop by.
Well, and we should have you in one of the gameplay segments too, because I think that'd be hilarious.
Actually, be good. I don't know.
Watch you school us.
We'll see.
On something
maybe next year.
Excellent. Okay, so before we sign off for the week, there are a few more Newegg Now deals I want to make sure you guys know about, including some great audio gear. So we have a great deal. I'm excited about this one. We have a great deal on the Sennheiser HD1 Bluetooth in-ear headphones. So they have a mic and a remote. It's Bluetooth 4.1 with AAC codec support and aptX compatibility. That's a big deal if you care about audio quality. This is a name brand that I fanboy out all over the place. They've been a huge part of my recording career into my entertainment career. I just recently spent some time with their new gaming headsets. Awesome, awesome, awesome hardware. You can pick up the HD1 Bluetooth in-ear headphones for less than $120. And if you want to go with something more traditional, circumaural headphones from Sennheiser, we also have the BTNC wireless set for $20 off right now. Killer stuff. Okay. If you're looking for a good STEM gift, we have a couple of great drones to choose from, like the MakeBlock AirBlock multi-form drone. So this is made from blocks that come apart when the drone crashes. Not if the drone crashes, when the drone crashes. And we've talked about it on the show before. I really feel we need to do a segment on this where I crashed a drone. I really feel like that should be a more regular part of our lineup. That's not in our script. So it's super easy to reassemble. You never have to worry about it permanently breaking. Just plug all those pieces back together, you're back up and flying. It's great for beginner pilots, and you can pick it up right now for $40 off. And then alongside that, there's also the Rise Tello, which is a straightforward drone experience, good for beginners, also fun for more advanced pilots, and you can pick that one up for less than $80. Great buy. We also have an Arlo home security system, and we have a great audio receiver from Yamaha, along with the Zotac GTX 2080 I already mentioned, and that great gaming laptop. A ton of deals to take advantage of on Newegg.com/Newegg now. So make sure you check that out. Go do it now. We're helping you save some cash. Do it. Awesome. Okay, remember, you can visit Newegg.com/YulePC. That's Newegg.com/YulePC to enjoy the live stream of this holiday-themed PC all December long. This is also sort of the torture test. We're going to be running this this GTX 2080 Ti with the seal lock for a month. We're gonna see if we can keep it running. Again, like, I really hope we don't hit like a Windows update or something like that, like in the middle. Yeah. It'd be hilarious. Like someone will have to come in and just keep like, no, postpone. No, postpone. Newegg.com/YulePC. Go check it out. We had a lot of fun putting this together. I think it's hilarious that we put a 2080 Ti in there. All right, that's going to do it for me this week. Thanks for watching. As always, thank you so much, Nick, again, for joining us. And again, as always, a huge thank you to the entire Newegg Studios crew, all of the Newegg Ninjas here, week after week after week, putting together some phenomenal live streams and some great produced content. You can check out some of the sexiest video you've ever seen of hardware and components. Come back next week, our final episode of 2018. It's it. 2018's done as far as we're concerned. Next week, Trisha will be back in the studio. She'll probably be sitting on the side of the couch again so I don't block her camera line. And we're going to be joined by Intel and Microsoft. Huge. So we've got a really big show to wrap the year up with. You're definitely going to check that out. And if you haven't already switched over, there is the Qualcomm stream that's going on right now, so you can get the scoop on the thing that Trisha teased that we couldn't talk about. This has been Newegg Now, and now you know.
On the day after Christmas.